want to fight. Only God Forgives stars Ryan Gosling, Kristen Scott Thomas, and Vithaya Pansringarm. I think that's how you pronounce it. I tried to pronounce it that time because this guy, I'll get into it. I want to talk about him. And this movie is directed by Nicolas winning Refn. And I was pretty anticipated for this movie because of my love for Drive. I love the movie Drive. Drive is just amazing. Watch my review and you'll know why. So I was anticipating the same director and Ryan Gosling again reteaming for this movie, crime thriller set in Thailand or whatever. I was pretty excited and I went in a little less excited because I've seen a few reviews and they were mostly negative. Well, my expectations were set a little lower because I was like, so it isn't great apparently. And I watched it the first time. I rented it on the PlayStation Store. Thankfully, it wasn't in my theaters, but it was on the PlayStation Store, so I rented it. And I watched it. And a lot of different thoughts went through my head, but I couldn't review it. It was weird. It was one of those movies, rare movies, where I can't review it after watching it the first time. So I had to watch it a second time. And then I felt like, yes, I fully know what I think of this movie. Some people watch this movie and will hate the movie's guts. They will not like it one bit. Other people will probably like it, but I doubt anyone will love the movie. But I'll talk about it. The story is about Ryan Gosling's character Julian that runs a Thai boxing gym, and his brother, who's a real scumbag. I'll talk about it a little, but he's a scumbag, just awful person, and he gets killed. So Ryan Gosling's mother comes in and tells him to get the guy that did it, and it turns out this cop is involved, and he is like a badass, and him and Ryan Gosling kind of build up to a meeting where they're going to go head to head, and you get a interesting revenge film to say the least. This movie's interesting. You got the great direction Nicolas winning Refn again, and I'll talk about what he brings to the film, but I'll talk about the acting first. Ryan Gosling, he has almost nothing to work with this character. If you thought he was quiet and Drive, you'll think like, oh man, that guy talking all the time, because this movie he has about 20 lines, maybe less. He says nothing. He does a lot of this though. He walks around really quietly, stares at people again, and does a lot of... There's a lot of fist imagery in it. The first time I watched the movie, it's like, what the hell is that? And the second time, I kind of think I get what it means, but it is pretty weird. Ryan Gosling's got some serious issues with his mother and other women. He's got a lot of problems. So while he might seem like he might be a good person, on the inside he's got way too many problems and you probably won't like him too much. But his brother is much worse. His brother is a scumbag. The reason he kind of got what he deserved when he gets killed, because he did some things that kind of made him deserve it. The brother deserves what he gets, but the mother, she just thinks, oh, she deserves her vengeance for her son's death. So Julian, Ryan Gosling's character, has to go try to get vengeance on this guy. But this guy is a total badass. He's got the samurai sword. Oh my god. Vithaya Pansringarm, I'll just call him by his character name, Chang. Chang, when he pulls out the samurai sword, he's badass before, but when he gets that sword, he is a badass. The movie does have problems, particularly with the characters. Particularly Ryan Gosling's character has nothing. He does a lot of the fist imagery. He's basically there to kind of just scare people, play with his fists, and then beat people up and like unleash serious rage. But that's kind of it. He has nothing there. You don't know nothing about his character basically. Except for a few times his mother kind of talks about him in weird ways. Him and his mother have serious issues that I don't really want to talk about in this review, but I'll do a spoiler one so I can get into it because it was interesting to say the least. There's nothing to any of these characters. The character you get the most of is Chang. It's just kind of because you know, oh, he's got a kid and a wife. Okay. Like, you know nothing about any of them. Like, you get that Ryan Gosling and his mother have serious problems, and that's it. So the characters are completely weak. They don't work. However, I did like watching them in this movie. There's something about this movie where it's hypnotic, where you don't like the characters because there's nothing to them, but you like watching them do what they do. In my opinion, that's what I like watching them do what they did in the movie, but there's nothing to them. The writing of this story it was so minimalistic. I mean, a movie like Drive, pretty minimalistic, but this one even more so. It's literally just, this happens, so they just keep trying to get revenge, and more revenge upon vengeance on everything. Just retaliation for everything. That's kind of all there is to it. And so the writing, not really that good. There's a lot of weird things in the movie. But you get the direction and cinematography. This movie is beautiful. Movies like Skyfall and Drive, I've said, are just beautiful looking movies. This one also fits in that category. My God, this movie is a visual feast, and not in the Pacific Rim type way, which I regarded highly for the fact that it looks so awesome with the monsters fighting the mechs. This, well, it's a lot of beautiful cinematography. All the shots play out beautifully, although there's a little bit too much slow motion. I mean, there's a lot of parts where it's just, this is going a little slower than it should, move it up a little. But aside from that, everything looks good. The color and lighting in this movie I really like. That's something that really made me pay attention just because I like looking at it. There's moments where it's just everything's all red or everything's blue, and I like the lighting and the use of color in this movie. And the direction pretty much was pretty good. I gotta fault Nicolas Winding Refn though for a little bit too much slow motion. Some scenes take a little too long to get to the point. And there's one scene, a torture scene, that went a tad bit too far. Because in the past he's made violent movies. Valhalla Rising, sort of violent. Bronson, very violent. Drive, pretty damn violent. When you squash a guy's head like a pumpkin, you're dealing with ultra violence. But it worked in something like Drive. This, all the violence pretty much worked. There's a time or two where it seems senseless. But the torture scene particularly felt like, okay, you get that this person's torturing him to get information. But it goes too far with what he shows us. It seems like he showed us the most extreme things that happen. And the things that aren't incredibly violent but still kind of violent, it's like, oh, I'll just have the camera not see it and you get artistic shots. And then the extreme violence, the camera's focused right in on it. That bothered me, and I thought he went a little too far. It felt like he was trying to do a Hostel movie. Let Eli Roth do those. And don't get me wrong, I like the first two Hostel movies as a different type of movie. It's kind of a creepy out gore factor movie. They were alright, but it's just, come on, you don't need that in this movie. Even though it is violent, it just felt a little too far. And so overall, the movie is really weird. A lot of weird things. Ryan Gosling's fascination with his fists. He does that a lot. I cannot stress enough. There's a lot of that. He has a weird thing with his mother. It's odd. I don't get it. The fist thing almost felt unnecessary because they just did it so much. I feel like you didn't need it in the movie. You really didn't. There's a couple times where I was like, really? And then you get to the ending where it kind of pays off, but at the same time you're like, that's the ending, that's what I get, thanks a lot. You feel gypped. And so the fist thing really didn't need to be there, but it sort of pays off then, so maybe that justifies keeping it, I'm not sure. Some of the character, the only elements to the characters sometimes felt really weird, but I do like the direction, cinematography, and the fight. If you've seen the trailers, Ryan Gosling and Chang, they face off, they fight. And it honestly reminded me like Batman vs. Bane. Minus the monologuing, that's all I'll say. It was reminiscent, I'll talk about it more in the spoiler review. But that's kind of how I felt about that. I really liked the fight. But yeah, so you get a very bare bones freaking revenge movie. That beautiful cinematography. But I was entertained enough. The story, it was almost so weird that I kind of liked it. But the characters were just so weak. There was absolutely nothing to them. And the story was pretty bare bones. That even though I was entertained and it was a visual feast, I can't reward the movie too highly for being just so minimalistic, so I'll give Only God Forgives a B. A lot of people would say I'm overrating it, but I feel that's exactly where it should be. I did enjoy it, I like watching it. 2 times I've watched it, both times feel the same about it, and I'll probably pick it up on Blu-ray when it comes out. I did enjoy the movie, although it did have its problems like I said. So if you like this review, like or subscribe, comment below, tell me what you thought of the movie. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time when I do the spoiler review of Only God Forgives.